In this video, I'm going to shed light on a surprisingly profound scene that takes place in Cheaper by the Dozen, a film I previously considered as nothing more than a fun yet forgettable family comedy. My goal is to highlight the powerful themes that underlie the goofy exterior of the story, in the hopes that viewers can gain insight into the art of balancing comedy with meaning, as well as the power of timeless, family-orientated storytelling. I first watched Cheaper by the Dozen back when it was released in 2003. I was only 11 at the time. I remember liking the film, but then I got on with life and essentially forgot about it. It would pop up here and there on TV, but I'd always think, I've seen that, it was fun, but I'm not going to watch it again. It had a memorable quality because who could forget a movie about a family with 12 kids? But beyond that, I was never aware of anything particularly special about the film. Years passed. I got a girlfriend, then a DisneyPlus account. And recently, while looking for something to watch, my girlfriend pointed out Cheaper by the Dozen. She told me it was her favorite film from her childhood and suggested we watch it. I resisted at first because honestly I didn't think it was worth revisiting. But eventually, I gave in. Since I hadn't seen the film for so many years, I couldn't remember the storyline at all, so when I watched the film recently, it felt like I was watching it for the first time. Much to my surprise, I ended up enjoying it more than I thought I would. Cheaper by the Dozen is very silly, but in a charming way. It's easygoing and feel-good. It's also beautifully shot in that self-assured traditional style that characterized the era of Hollywood films I grew up with. Those were the days when studios shot on location, used film as opposed to digital cameras, and generally produced more authentic, spirited, and meaningful stories. They had a quality about them that made them special. They had heart. That said, I wasn't prepared for how much heart Cheaper by the Dozen had. By the time the credits were rolling, I was staring at the TV in amazement, genuinely delighted by the surprising wisdom I had failed to notice during my initial viewing all those years ago. Of course, as a child, I would have been blind to the more meaningful elements, but as an adult, I was able to read between the lines and engage with the symbolism that subtly underpins the film's lighthearted, seemingly carefree surface. One scene in particular is just brilliant, and that's the scene I want to focus on in this video. To begin, let's establish some context. Cheaper by the Dozen is about this family, the Bakers, made up of Tom and Kate and their 12 children, and the challenges they encounter after they relocate to a new city, so that Tom can take up a new job as head football coach at his old university. Added to the mix is Kate's desire to go on a book tour so she can promote her book, which so happens to be about parenting their 12 kids. Then you have the dramas the children are involved in. There's the high school senior who resents moving in his final year because he needs stability. The eldest who is trying to establish her independence, and then there's Mark, one of the younger kids who feels like he doesn't fit in because it seems he is different to the rest of his siblings. While one could say the film is about a football coach and an aspiring writer struggling to juggle their careers with the responsibility they have to look after their 12 kids, at its heart, the film is really about an archetypal family forced to evaluate what truly matters to them during a period of immense change and disruption. More specifically, it's about a husband and wife who part ways at a fork in the road and then find each other again with renewed appreciation and love. Sure, there are 12 kids, but there might as well just be 2 or even 1. The number 12 is simply a device used to elevate the comedy and symbolically demonstrate both the overwhelming love and chaos that children introduce into their parents' lives. The story of a family having to take stock of their values and chart a new course during the collapse of their old life and the formation of a new one is naturally a story that every family can or will one day relate to, and is why the film's message resonates so deeply. This message is without a doubt encapsulated in the film's strongest, most profound scene. I'm going to call it the empty stadium scene. While it's only 1 minute and 28 seconds long and does not contain a single line of dialogue, it masterfully reveals the heart of the film and elegantly articulates the answer to the question posed by the film's dramatic events. In the build-up to the scene, Tom tells his boss, Sheikh, that he's going to resign at the end of the season. When Sheikh hears this, he says, "Giving up on the dream, huh?" To which Tom responds, "Just going with a different one." Tom then drops the mic by concluding, "If I screw up raising my kids, nothing I achieve will matter much." The next scene shows Kate telling the kids that their father has quit his job. After that, the empty stadium scene begins. It opens on Tom's feet as he's walking out onto his team's football field. As we cut to a wide, we realize this isn't like the other games Tom has attended. In fact, there is no game at all. The stands are empty. Tom has his hands in his pockets and appears contemplative. He finally stops and looks around. He turns to the scoreboard, which shows the score of the last game. His team, the Stallions, appear to have won. We then fade to a shot where the camera is revolving around Tom as he looks out across the field and the stadium, taking it all in. As he turns to his right, his eyes settle on something off camera. The camera finally reveals Tom's wife and each of their 12 children. Like fans during a football game, Tom's kids are holding up letters that spell, "We love the coach." Tom puts his hands on his waist and smiles, delighted by their unexpected arrival. Kate and the 12 children remain in place, waiting for a signal, much like players waiting for a signal from their coach. Tom then gestures for them to come to him. The kids drop the letters and the whole family runs over. We see Tom with his arms outstretched as his children gallop toward him. They surround him and he takes them into his arms so they can share a large family hug. Finally, Kate appears. Tom separates from his children and then turns to his wife with wide open arms and embraces her intensely. While their children surround them, Tom and Kate look deeply into each other's eyes as they acknowledge what they've been through together and finally make peace with the primacy of their relationship. The scene ends as they embrace each other while their children laugh and dance around them. I love this scene, especially because it's contrasted so well against the film's goofy, light-hearted veneer. It's so simple, yet powerful and beautiful. So what makes this particular scene so great? I believe it succeeds as a result of the harmony between the various lenses through which the scene can be experienced. The four I'd like to bring attention to include the lenses of narrative, wisdom, beauty, and symbolism. From a narrative perspective, the scene represents the climactic moment in the story, when the life lesson Tom is being taught throughout the film finally crystallizes. It's when he finally comes to terms with the fact that his children, and ultimately his wife, are the most important parts of his life, and that he is not only willing, but also prepared to make the necessary sacrifices for their well-being. The scene represents the final turning point for the family, after which they are able to chart a revitalized course into the future and renew what was lost when they uprooted from their previous home. I describe this scene as beautiful because of how it visually depicts the dynamics between Tom and his family, and in a sense, those of the ideal family. In particular, the brief, high-angle wide shot of Tom and his family running toward him is profoundly moving. It depicts Tom, the archetypal father, standing still, anchored and stable with his arms outstretched. His children are the picture of pure joy as they charge toward him. Though once anxious about the future, his children appear self-assured and safe now that their father has returned. I believe this is how we all long to live, to run on the field of life with confidence and direction, trusting in the loving safety net of our Father's watchful gaze and the inevitability of His loving embrace. This image is beautiful because it depicts a timeless vision of heaven. However, what truly elevates the scene is the way symbolism and wisdom are interwoven and used to amplify the narrative climax. The stadium is an excellent symbol of life itself. The cheering fans represent the world we long to impress. The field represents the arena in which the game of life is played. As Tom stands on the field contemplating the decision he's made to sacrifice his dream to be a head football coach, the empty stadium poetically reminds him that from now on, the world will not be watching. The name of Tom's team, the Stallions, also hints at the wild openness and sense of infinite possibility that Tom is letting go of. While to the cynical viewer, Tom may seem like a sellout, we must remember that Tom has not given up on his dream. In his own words, he's just decided to pursue a different one. He's still going to continue playing. After all, he's still on the field. He's still in the arena. However, from now on, Tom is going to be playing a different game, that being the game of father and husband. Having learned his lesson, Tom will no longer play for the approval and validation of nameless crowds, his boss, or the promise of hollow material rewards. Instead, Tom will play for the only fans that show up when he needs them most, and the only ones that matter when all is said and done. Those fans are, of course, his family. So often in life, we get distracted by the temptation to focus on the outside world, as opposed to that of our own. We seek the approval of strangers rather than the approval of those who love us and who deserve our love in return. When we take our loved ones for granted, we forget to revitalize the delicate relational foundations on which our homes and our very souls are built. Sheba by the Dozen reminds us that the real game of life is played at home. Our ultimate sense of purpose and meaning cannot be sustained by playing the game of life for the adoration of a fickle world and the misleading promises of infinite possibility. The so-called shackles of family life may ironically be where we discover ultimate freedom, and where instead of dreams dying, dreams actually come true. For it is here where the pain of life is healed, being itself renewed, and the true game of life can be played forever.